So I thought we'd do a bit of an unboxing video here together. Bought myself a toy. It's more than a toy. I shouldn't call it a toy. So one of the things I'm challenged by here is my lab with all of my tools and soldering everything is upstairs. I don't really have a computer up here. I don't have room for a computer up here. I can't capture video up here. I don't have any video capture hardware. So video capture and a lot of stuff ends up being shot downstairs at my main computer. And I want to be able to capture oscilloscope traces and those kind of things in an easier way. I do some troubleshooting downstairs and some troubleshooting up here. All my monitors are downstairs. So my CGA, MDA, all those monitors, VGA, etc., are all downstairs. I don't have room in the lab up here for them. I have one spot on a shelf above the bench here where I can get a monitor in. Right now there's a composite monitor sitting there. But that's really it. So one of the things I thought is, well, if I had lab instruments downstairs, I could do better video shooting down there. But at the same time, I don't want to lug all my lab instruments down. Here on the bench, I've got two large power supplies, a function generator, a bench multimeter, several handheld multimeters, such as this guy, all my tools, so an old school analog oscilloscope with a CRT, frequency counters, all that stuff lives up here. And to be able to actually capture some stuff downstairs and do troubleshooting would be nice. And I came across this. You can probably read on the label what it is. It was spendy, but I went, you know what? I'm going to buy myself a toy. Well, not really a toy. Something to see how useful it is. So I thought we'd go ahead and unpackage this together. I have to say it's much larger than I expected, the box, and much heavier than I expected, which really kind of surprised me. It's like, wow, I for some reason was thinking this would be much smaller than this. It is the deluxe bundle. There's actually a name for the bundle I bought. Discovery, let's see, Ultimate Bundle. This is the Ultimate Bundle. Which, I kept looking at cheaper versions, but it's like, let's just go all the way to the Ultimate and just have it. Hopefully I'll actually find a use for all of it. So another large Ziploc plastic bag. We're starting to see toys appear inside. The case is nice and solid. That's a decent case. Jumbo box. The latches seem to work well. I do want to get rid of these styrofoam peanuts. Trash bag. Oh, that bag is shot. Garbage can's got stuff stacked on top of it, making it hard to get at. Okay. These are regular styrofoam. They don't look to be the recyclable ones. They're not cornstarch, so I am going to, I hate to say it, chuck them. I've got bags and bags of these I've kept for my own shipping that rarely are used enough. Well, there's lots of peanuts in here. So let's kind of work through the contents, what we've got here. So we've got a breakout board. So as I understand this, it plugs into the analog discovery itself and down into a proto board so that you can actually break the signals out to use on the proto board. That looks like it'll be pretty cool. This is an impedance measurement add-on. I believe it's got the resistor networks in it and can switch them to actually measure impedance. The oscilloscope, and I believe voltage test lead adapter. I know this definitely does oscilloscope 2-channel, and I think the other two are for test leads, such as this. But I don't know. Technically I didn't need necessarily more test leads, but I want, what the heck. Let's just get it all together. And it's the stuff. So there's another. So both of these are the clippers. There should be a couple in here that are alligator clips. There's one that's alligator clip. There's a second one that has alligator clips. There's a prototyping board. A small one, and it's got all the signals brought through, it looks like, to the connector here. So that's kind of cool. Not that I needed more oscilloscope probes, but I have more oscilloscope probes that come with it for the 2-channel scope. We'll look at these in a second. They're made in China. I don't expect them to be real high quality. I think the scope on this is rated to 50 megahertz is all. But, you know, almost everything I ever do, that is more than enough. I've got that really nice 300 megahertz scope, the Roden Schwartz. Because it's a $7,000 oscilloscope, it's in a case, it's secured. I have to break it out and set it up, and just because I don't want to damage it. And it's become really inconvenient, which is part of why I want, you know, this might be just more convenient. We've got a bag of mini clippers here. Those look pretty nice. We've got some test clip leads here that can actually have the cable hooked into them. But like to me, these cables are permanently attached. We've got the fly. This isn't even a fly cable. This is really probably a cable for like this prototyping board kind of thing, potentially. I didn't realize till after I bought it, it had this prototyping board with it. It actually looks like it's a really nice prototyping board. Of course, I'm never going to get it out of the case, but that's a different problem. Where's something with a hook or a bend to it, but I can use to lift. And there's where a lot of the weight of this is. That looks like a really nice overall prototyping board. A few jumper wires. That looks really nice. I am happy with that. And then we have the actual analog discovery itself, the device. So let's put all this back in to get it somewhat out of the way. It's like Christmas here. I knew there was a bunch of stuff in this. I didn't realize how much stuff. The photos of this only show just a few of the parts. They don't show everything. Let's put that down out of the way. We've got the actual analog discovery. It's wrapped in this paper band that I believe has... Can it be unhooked here? Kinda. There it goes. That can be removed. It wasn't glued. We've got the accessories. So there's the fly leads. The USB cable. Called fly leads because all the wires on this side are loose to bring all the signals into and out of it. A ferrite bead that is used for some noise suppression. It's got male-to-male pin headers here. Of course, the USB cable. I think it specifies high-speed USB. It's not a USB 3. I don't really know what high-speed means. How does it come out of here? The unit itself, case feels decent. It's got little rubber kind of bumpery feet on it. Xilinx University program. It can take a 5-volt DC jack in. So one of the things it can do is a plus and minus rail power supply. You can run it off USB, and you can get a +5 supply. And I think there's a there's a buck converter. I don't even know anyhow. It generates -5 in a DC to DC converter. That off USB isn't real high current. But if you come in off of the 5-volt DC, I think you can get much higher. I know you can get much higher currents out of both. I don't remember the rating. It's got all of these I/O pins down here. There's digital I/O. There's a 16-channel digital logic analyzer in here, 2-channel oscilloscope, voltmeter. There's a ton of stuff that was in here. Geez, I can't even think all the stuff was in here. There's a lot of instruments this can be configured to be. That honestly, for what I'm doing downstairs, ought to be more than adequate. There's I cannot get the words out of my mouth here. A frequency analyzer. There's all kinds of stuff available. So far, I like everything I'm seeing. The quality seems perfectly okay. I know that very quickly things will no longer be in bags. They'll just be stowed here. Let's take a look at this cable. It's interesting because I actually have all the parts here to make longer versions of this. If I actually needed something longer, could make a version with male pins on it that would be easier to plug directly into a breadboard. I got lots of options because I have all kinds of the raw connectors and pre-crimped leads of various lengths. I spurged and bought a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. It's definitely keyed. It's tough to get on, that's for sure. I'm not going to push it down right now. Don't really need to, but that's nice. I see no reason to put this back in the bag. Don't see any reason to keep the USB cable in the bag. Pretty standard cable. Of course, it's USB cable. I think the ferrite bead was for power supply mode on it, but I could be wrong. I'll go ahead and leave these in their little bag. Actually, these convert the fly leads. Interesting. To male from female. The ferrite bead, that can all just be kept in here in its own nice little case. That's pretty cool. Not sure why I put that away. In a minute here we'll actually see about plugging some accessories in. So let's take a peek at the probes. I've got so many scope probes. Interesting, these already have the red and yellow identifiers on them for channel 1 and channel 2. They actually feel like they're decent quality. I don't know. They're definitely different than some of the other ×10 probes I've got floating around here. I had these come. I guess these are identical. They just didn't seem identical. They're absolutely identical to these. Interesting. These came with a little tablet scope that I bought. So they are P6100, 100 megahertz. These are supposedly 61, 100 megahertz. They don't have the P. I have no clue anymore. Looks like they're rated the same. So I guess these are just, my memory is wrong. Little adjusting tool, various things here that can be really useful. So I'm okay with that. You know, it gives me a set that go directly in the packaging, so they're always there. The big question now is, can I get them back in? It's funny how this stuff always comes out of the bag, but it never fits back into the bag. Like I've got going on here, the scope probes don't really want to fit down in there. Standard scope probe accessories. This looks like really a better set. The little adjustment tool here. What do the compensation screws look like in these? Looks the same. So the adjustment tool that came with those other probes didn't work. It didn't engage in anything. There's nothing for it to turn, but it didn't have the little metal end on it there that this one has. Do I feel that? Oh, it did drop in. And I can, okay, so I can grab something on the inside there and rotate it. How about on these? I'm not sure on these it's actually doing anything. Because it certainly shouldn't be multi-turn, although maybe it is for compensation. See, that looks like a hex head down in there. It's so weird. And I can actually see the slot in this. Maybe it's the difference between the P and the non-P. I don't know. These sound like they might be a little better probe. I guess I'll find out with time. So, of course, the heart of this whole thing is their software package. It runs on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, etc. It really turns it into a usable instrument because everything basically relies on the PC software. Boy, I really want those to double up like that. Really relies, like I said, on the PC software to be able to do anything with it. It's a little better. It's a little flatter. So let's reopen this. Pull the unit out. And look at some of the accessories. There should be this board. Well, things here feel decent quality. Allows the use of standard BNC terminated test leads and probes, AC and DC coupling for scope probes, 50 ohm or 0 ohm output impedance and arbitrary waveform generator. Does not have differential analog inputs, and I knew that. They've made that abundantly clear. Is this reusable? Are you meant to cut this open? I can see the top of the bag, and I can see where they've taped over. Well, I'm going to trim down a little bit where it appears the top of the bag is. Let's start with that. Channel 1, channel 2. So that's going to be oscilloscope on this side. AC and DC coupling is actually the jumpers there. W1 and W2. 50 or 0 ohm termination. Actually, I think it's probably 50 or open, not 0. It's probably more accurate. This should just jack into here. As it does, it's got some raised spacers on it to get it up off the bench. The spacers might be a little bit long. That's interesting. That's right. Find stuff to bitch and moan about. Yeah, the spacers are a little bit too long. Huh, that's interesting. Which is why it appears to sit up, because it really does sit up. Still pretty cool. Seems rugged enough for the kind of stuff I'm going to be doing with it. Impedance tester. It's got rubber feet. That adapter. Quick prototyping adapter. Guess we can take a look at all of these in turn. Nope, it really does need, I think, the top of the bag cut off. I'm sitting here questioning in my head, am I going to be disciplined enough to actually put things back in their bag? Probably not. Well, that's not been attached yet. Yeah, and there's the problem. Well, that's okay. This is still sitting a little bit proud here. It's kind of high in the middle. But it does have everything broke out there. With this in place, you can still read the signal names. So I know that 1 plus and 2 plus, 1 minus and 2 minus are the scope probes. That's the 4 down here. There's a ground and a ground. V plus and V minus, that's the programmable power supply outputs. W1 and ground, and I'm sure it's W2 and ground. Those are the inputs for voltmeter, that kind of stuff. T1 and T2 are triggers. I believe they're inputs. And then 0 through 15 are the digital IOs that are used for the logic analyzer, that kind of stuff. Can see that, you know, on the proto board, the power supply rails are labeled. If I mount this, I've then got to use jumper leads to get from the power supply rails to it. I'm not going to permanently mount it now. We have a bedboard breakout. So the real question becomes, was this worth what I paid for it? Because it's not a cheap package. So I remember the unit here alone, I think, starts at around, was it $2.99 or was it $3.99? I don't even remember now. So this relies on a cable, would just get plugged down into a proto board, and it would use a cable, and apparently it uses this male-to-male header here. So it would use, let's pull the cable out. I saw it in here. So it seems I can get the bag open here. This cable if I wanted to use this with the prototyping kit, I guess we can put this together at this point. So I guess this is more than an unboxing. It's actually kind of a deeper look and a bit of assembly. Trim off the staple. Pull the staple out. That will now unslide. Maybe. And maybe not. Oh, that's got a nice metal back to it. Oh, that is nice. It's not like PCB material or something like that. It's actually got some heft to it. I like that. We've got 4 rubber feet that obviously are meant for the corners. Yeah, they're not exactly put in the same position. Sue me, they're not perfect. Good friggin' enough. So those go on there. We've got these guys. So you can do it here. We've got ground, and it is keyed. There's a little flat to it that lines up to the flat in the sheet metal. There's a washer that I suspect also has the flat. Wow, fingers are not working today. Yep, the bench is becoming kind of a mess here. Yep, the orientation of the hole is this way for a wire, so I'm happy with that. Red will be VC, and I don't know whether green or yellow will be VA, but I see VCC or +5. That's what that would mean to me. So to use this, This adapter would be brought in either up here, I'm not sure where it would, but it would be brought in. Where would I put the unit itself? Ooh, the pins are labeled well on that, easy to read. See if I can get this bag open. This, in this case, is going to go into here. Maybe. There it goes. We've got this cable that I pulled out here. And this is a case where I can make a replacement cable for this. It's directly male to female. And not have to worry about that male to male adapter. You would go on here. See, orange goes to scope 1. Oh, it's no connections coming out of here. Of course it is. I believe it goes on this orientation. As always, don't have enough room. You never have enough room. That centers well on there. I may have to find a couple more feet. I don't like how much that flexed. I don't like how much that flexes at all. How is that flexing that much? Okay, there's my first net. Why is that flexing as much as it is? Screws aren't super tight, but they're not loose. I'm just surprised there's as much flex in that as there is. I will find some additional feet. You'd have this, of course, ran off. You'd have scope probes on it, other measurement probes over here, and be able to basically prototype and with the breakout here, which is really nice. So I like this. I like what I see here. Giving me 16 channels of digital I/O. It's pretty cool that, you know, there's things I can already think of I can do with this. I can see as a university student that this would just be really, really useful. One of the scenarios I read is if every student had the core system like this, they could go back to the dorm room and actually work on projects without being just locked into lab time only. And I totally agree with that. My labs, when I was at university, actually it was college. I didn't go to university, I went to college. Were in the room only, in the classroom. There was really nothing you could do on your own unless you actually had, you know, your own stuff, which I was poor. I didn't. Anyhow, this is quite the mess I've made here throwing stuff around. So far, I'm pretty happy with everything I've seen. See, the one big disappointment was how much flex there is in that. I was happy when I saw it was metal, but now I'm like, wow, if it was actually a heavy PCB, you know, like a double or triple normal thickness, although that's spendy to have made. Wow, that is tight on there. I'm not sure why they didn't just solder a male header block on there. That's the other thing. Why wouldn't you have put a male header block on there? I can see it's all, of course it is, lead-free solder. Everything's dull and gray and ugly looking. No surprise, it's lead-free. Don't even know what I was saying now. Should be interesting to see here. Like I said, find some additional feet for down there. Get the software loaded next and play with some of this. If I can actually get stuff back in the bags. Offers a little bit of protection. I don't think we really need to pull the impedance analyzer out. It just plugs in. A device under test gets plugged in and it measures impedance. So what we will do is get the bag where it can be removed. I don't think this cable needs to go back into a bag. I don't really know that I see. I guess the reality here is you really don't want to stick this down on. Set it in place, build your prototype up. Once you've got it done, if you want to, you can transfer it to the solder pads and have a permanent measurement or output module or whatever, for whatever it is you're going to do. So that makes sense to me. So yeah, I will not be peeling. Yeah, that's got foam tape on it, double-sided foam tape. I will not be peeling that off and permanently attaching it, especially having this very generously sized proto board here. I'm hoping to actually do a mental refresher of analog as well with this. The more I try things and try to do things, the more I realize I've just forgotten over the years because I've used it so little. So any other good stuff to say here? Surprised by how much stuff was here. I can definitely say that. I've just dropped something down inside of my shoe. So bloody wonderful. There was more stuff here than I thought there was going to be. The quality overall, I think, is decent. Nothing seems, really shoddily manufactured or... Get you to line up in there. I had the same trouble with the other one, trying to hold it square in the hole. Quality seems good. I can see it being really useful. The scope probes are exactly what I expected, and that is they're, they make a lot of those probes in China because they come with everything. They're labeled 100 megahertz, I guess. So I remember the input capacitance and stuff on this thing as a scope probe was decent, or as a scope. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't like it's a TTL input that's being driven, which of course would make a very good scope. Obviously this is going to go yellow-green in order. I guess really I won't know more until I've got it into use. I actually have a debugging project I want to do on it. I've got issues with my Big Board 1 video that I've just never resolved. It uses one-shots to produce the timings for the video chain, and it just doesn't work. I can't get good sync on any composite monitor I've got. And I can adjust it to where it's got good sync, but it's so far off-centered in the monitor, there's no way to pull it back into center, even with the monitor controls. And there's 3 different one-shots, or they're all adjustable. Well, they're all adjustable because I added pots to them. Actually, I can see that green underneath one isn't lined up. And so I really need to get a scope in place on that and see if I can figure out what's going on. Looks like it all finally rotated into place. So I'm hoping to use this for that because I'll be able to capture the video coming out of it. I believe my video capture device will capture the video coming out of it. Have my main PC where we can have the scope hooked up and meters and things, and you can see the same screen I'm seeing and capture video. I think this will make kind of a nice move to the next level of video for me. we'll find out as I move forward. That's really what I bought this for. This, in many ways, was an investment in the channel, and it gives me a nice tool. So anyhow, I've rambled on for probably a half hour, as I always do. I'll wrap this one up here, and I'll see you in a future video, and then put this guy to use.